So, just a very quick preamble because we've got quite a lot to get through today. The last few years have been challenging for all sorts of organizations, especially due to COVID, turning up the staff, moving around. It's difficult times, but I think that CW's weathered it well. Some good decisions have been made, finances have been supported to stabilise. Now we're moving forward again, and also to the new projects, much of which you'll hear about once we get started with the project work, all things will be a bit more obvious. So maybe I should just pass over to Peter and let him get started with the explanation of how we're going about it.
Yeah, hopefully we'll have a screen.
Second. No.
While you're talking, but we have people joining us online, some trustees who couldn't make it here, and also some other members. Okay. Yes. So hopefully, and some of them are in Spain at the moment. This is where I just come from. We had a European Party conference in Spain, and workshops and so on. It was the first. It was the first physical event that we've had since before COVID. I was keen to be present, and there was about 600 people up there, and lots of activities going on. Are people going to be able to hear? Yeah. Maybe I should sit on the table. I hope you can all hear, Jim, and yeah.
Yeah, that's better now. I think you have to sort of speak into the microphone or something, and then it
Yes. Okay.
Clear.
Okay. Well, I'll try and do that. But we seem to keep losing our picture here. But anyway, so what we're going to do is we'll have a series of presentations. I'll give one first of all, really just reviewing what we've done over the last year. And then the next one will be Catherine, Catherine on the Cardigan Lane Monitoring Project, and then Claudia will talk about the observer network. And then if Ben manages to make it here, he's first duty here as our regional coordinator in North Wales, he's going to give us a presentation as well. Okay. It's worth. So, relating to this is one of our friendly research dolphins that we have in Anderson. And to introduce those that maybe haven't. As you can see, it's very much engagement. This is system science, which use system science really to try and engage enthusiastic observers from around the town who work with scientists to observe and monitor the numbers. Something that we just thought was impossible to do back in the 70s in this, but we definitely made it done. So we use to involve the public as well as observers and people who be professionals as to see during the surveying style, or ferry people or people, the military as well. And all these pictures that you see here are all people that have been involved with providing data for us, including ferry captains, admirals on vessels, including actually HMS Britannia when the Royal Yacht, when that was in existence, we were getting data collected from those and various other wildlife operators and so on. So people that are working and from the industry, oil and gas industry and so on. UK, we split into 35 regional groups, regional areas and regional groups, each with a volunteer regional coordinator, who was an experienced cetacean observer, generally, to organise watches, collect data, recruit observers, and generally represent CWAT. And then we've had records now from around 4,000 observers providing data from all over the UK, from Shetland down to the Other Sea and the Channel Islands there. We have the biggest database in Europe in cetacean sightings now. We train those people to do watches, so we have a lot of records there. And our data set goes back to the 60s, in fact. Now, and birds observatories and wildlife trusts and so on all participate in this. We run training courses for target groups and the general ones as well. So we've done them in all these bodies here, the Department of Environment, fisheries agencies, local government, environment agencies, teachers, university students, and the oil and gas industry. We've done these targeted ones there. I've done them for the seismic industry. So the one we do down the top us.
What is the box that the thing is plugged into that keeps tripping? Can you unplug it on the box? That was my next. Yeah.
Okay, I'll move that. Apologies for this, those online having problems with it, tripping all the time.
We can still only hear about half of your stuff. You need to speak directly into the mic. It fades off very quickly.
Okay, I'll do that. You might have to see the back of me then. The only way to do that. Hmm?
Sorry.
Well, this can be moved. Oh, okay. Yes. You look that way. I guess, yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes, can hear you now, but generally when you've been speaking, it just fades into nothing.
Okay.
I think it's just the position of the microphone in relation to the speaker. I mean, to the person speaking.
Yes, we should plug a speaker. Okay, let's see if this will work. Can you hear me now? Okay, those online.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'll do that. Sorry for all of you. I'm not going to be able to look at you when I do this. But yes, I was saying that we have all these different groups here. Hydrographic Office. Well, most of the wildlife trusts around the UK have had courses with us. The record centres, those that have biological record centres, and various NGOs as well that have taken part, as well as with people that are ferry operators and the like. So we've trained more than 2,000 people. Welcome, Ben. Good to see you here. Is it moving on? It's not moving on. Pardon? In here. Okay. There. And in these courses, we run, we give lectures and have practical sessions, marine mammal biology, status, distribution, ecology, observing, recording. Quite a lot of emphasis on species identification, because that's what people particularly need or seek, and how to use photography, both for species identification and for individual identification. And then also reviewing conservation issues, marine protected areas and legislation. So we go through all those there when we do that. And we have groups of interns each year come, and 6 to 8 at a time, plus students, master students, and sometimes PhD students working with us there each year. And we have a membership which is growing now, which is managed by Robin Petch, who used to be the chair of trustees and is now touring the world just at the moment in a cruise ship as a guide there. And we produce a quarterly digital magazine that's edited by Hannah in particular, one of our trustees. And we produce monthly news bulletins with sightings maps and summaries there. And here's just an example of a front cover of one of the Sea-Watch magazines, quarterly magazines. And we invite contributions from our regional coordinators, from our key observers and so on to write about their area. And we also have ones from abroad. And in fact, several of our past interns have then gone on to have great careers in marine mammal science and conservation, and have contributed to that as well. And over the last year, we've had a lot of sightings, some quite interesting ones as well, some that as some species have started to increase in the area, which is good. And we've had some excellent shots sent in of Risso's dolphins. People have been monitoring bottlenose dolphin populations around the UK. White-beaked dolphins, that picture there was sent in by the people from the oil and gas industry out in the northern North Sea, then on the Forties field. And then, for example, we often get data and pictures from boat operators, and the common dolphins there are from AK Wildlife Cruises down in Cornwall there. And there are many others here. Some of these were submitted during the National Whale and Dolphin Watch week that we had, which Claudia is going to talk more about. So minke whales and bottlenose dolphins, these were local ones, in fact, I think, from dolphin spotting boat trips. Killer whales, which we've had regular records there. And particularly with the rise of social media, people have been now on Facebook pages and using WhatsApp and so on, have been contributing sightings of particularly the northern community of killer whales up around Shetland, Orkney and Caithness. And then there's a humpback whale sighting, which was sent in, and that one was actually just the other day off in the English Channel off Dover. So people enter sightings directly through our website, some of them using our online forms there, and then anyone can go and review those. And we have a validation system for them here in, mainly based here with interns running that here in Newquay, but also some online, some remote volunteers helping out with that, all supervised by the sightings officer. And those data there to check them and to make sure then no errors have crept in there. And then more recently, we've also, in addition to that, been developing our app, the Sea Watcher app, which I hope some of you have used there, which allows you to put in sightings, either from a land-based survey, which could be a static one or a walking survey along the coast, or a boat survey there, and then you can review those sightings as well, and everybody else's on maps there. You can identify what's been seen where and when. And that's been very successful, I think, and it has lots of additional facilities in the app, really allowing you to get codes of conduct on how to behave around animals if you're in a boat, what to do if you find a stranding, and a fairly comprehensive ID guide with fact sheets and maps and videos and so on to help people identify species there. Now we're going through a stage where we are developing this further, and there are some quite exciting innovations I hope that we will have here. The forms will be particularly the ones that might be used if you're on the boat survey, are going to be made much more user-friendly than I felt that they were currently. So you can put in all the information on one page there, you can view it all when you have a sighting and so on. And also, one of the other innovations will be that people will be able to afterwards edit better the data that they put in if they made a mistake and want to change something. That'll be easier. Excuse me. Now, but in addition to that, you'll be able to view in a sort of text form or a tabular form the different records that by date and by location and so on. So there's much more opportunity now to review data that's already come in. And the data that's come in is going to be not just that which is put in directly from the app, but also the data that goes in online to the website there. So these will all be collated, and then you can view them either on your app or you can view them from a platform, a web-based platform that you'll have a link to be able to look at there. And in addition to that, you'll be able to view the sightings on top of various environmental layers. And some of these are static ones, like bathymetry, where the sea depth is there. So you can see, for example, there's some sightings there in that deep canyon there between the islands there in the Hebrides. And then in the bottom right there, where you can view sightings over the seabed substrate. You can see whether they're being seen over areas that are of sand or rocky or whatever. And we have a variety of environmental layers, including a number of dynamic ones, like sea surface temperature and primary productivity. That's where there's plankton growth there. These are areas that potentially could be important for biodiversity, diversity of lower organisms, and then also higher ones that are feeding on those fish, cephalopods, and then up to marine mammals and birds. So you can identify hotspots from that, and you can compare where the sightings are with these. And because they're dynamic, they will be feeding in information that is sort of recent from the last month, and you can review it actually. So you can look at what the picture was in, back in January and so on. So there's that facility. In addition, we'll have these sort of risk maps. So you'll be able to look at the sightings on top of the human activities, and those can change over time as well, such as vessel traffic and such as sort of fishing vessel effort there overall. And there's another one that will show the marine protected areas. So I hope that people will find this of extra value, really, to be able to see all the different things that are going on and interpret what they're seeing better. There's another one, for example, on currents that will show current speeds in there, and you can see your sightings over the top of that. So I'm very excited about these innovations that are going to be introduced, and we hope this will be available by either May or early June, if possible. It's just doing the finishing bits to that. So every month in our newsletters, we produce a general map, really, with some of the interesting sightings that you had. And this is just a sample for July there, when we actually had 2,000 sightings overall of 13 species submitted during that month. So that was really good there. And it gives people a flavor of what you can see where there. And then moving to some of our special events that we have. So every year in late May, early June, we have Orca Watch, which is set up on the north coast of Scotland, mainland coast of Caithness, and also in the Northern Isles, Shetland and Orkney. And so people do watches of these places and then do effort-related watching. And this was organised last summer by Hannah, with help from George, who oversaw a big group of volunteers. And we had over 100 people participating in this there. So they have a guide of what you can see in different places and where the key watch points are for people to go out and watch. And here are just some pictures of people that went out. There's a ferry that goes across from John O'Groats to Orkney and back. It makes that journey several times a day. And people are watching on those as well for cetaceans. So as you can see, lots of people joined in and had a jolly good time on there. And just in that 1 week, we had almost sort of 350 sightings recorded of 9 different species. That includes some seal species as well, grey seal and harbour seal there. And then there were some sightings that we couldn't identify to species there. And there were sightings that were brought in from the app there and from the website that people had added on as well. And everyone, I think, had a great time there and saw quite a lot. Here are just some sample of some of what was seen. So there were 2 sightings submitted of humpback whale. There was 44 sightings of minke whales, 65 of harbour porpoise there, and 6 of common dolphins. Common dolphins have been increasing in northern Scotland over the recent years there, potentially through climate change, because the seas have been warming there, and some of the warmer water species that they like, such as anchovy and sardine, have been moving up around North Scotland and into the northern North Sea. So we're getting many more sightings now of common dolphin than we used to get, particularly around Caithness and Orkney. And here are some other sightings we had. We had 18 sightings of bottlenose dolphin and 44 sightings of rissos, 92 sightings there of grey seal, and 16 sightings of harbour seal. And it's interesting that actually the harbour seal population is not doing very well. One of the worries is that they are a target of orcas, but whether that's the reason that they're declining, we still don't know. There's a PhD student working on that at the moment. So a lot of sightings of orcas we had, which is obviously what Orca Watch was primarily focused upon, although we encourage people to record all species there. So it's not really just about orcas there, but it's a good place for them and a good time for them as well. So, and it says there are 207 individuals cited, but many of those will be the same individuals cited on repeat occasions there. So just to sum up, we had 66 people collecting data, and quite a lot of people also participated online, and a large number of hours, 338 hours there, of effort-related data, with 195 surveys there, 262 sightings, some orcas. Some of these figures don't agree with one another because they were put in at different times, and all the time we may be getting new records being submitted there. But it was a good sighting rate that we had, over 3 sightings per hour from those dedicated watches. That map shows you the different species that were seen at in different places during that week. That's not the only community of orcas that we get in Britain. We also have some on the West Coast, and perhaps the most famous individual of all is the one called John Coe, that we named many years ago in the Hebrides, and that shows you all the different places that John Coe has been seen, and he continues to be seen. He was seen earlier this year along with his male companion Aquarius. He is easily identified by that nick in the fin there, but they were seen. They've been seen several times now on the northeast coast of Scotland. Most of the time they're on the west coast there. But that's the sort of information that you can get and that the public can contribute, often with photographs that help us to validate those sightings. And then moving further down the coast, we've, down the east coast this is now, of Britain, we developed a collaboration with the North Sea Wildlife Trusts, stretching from Northumbria down to Lincolnshire, and we've been getting them do it. We've been training them up, setting up sites that we would like to see watched on a regular basis, and getting them to collect data on an effort-based manner. They're doing surveys for particular lengths of time, their effort defined periods of time, and then we can see how many are seen per unit effort. Here are just some of the sites there and some of the species that have been seen there. And it's been very useful at giving us all year round seasonal patterns of occurrence for harbour porpoise here and for bottlenose dolphin. So bottlenose dolphin have been seen particularly sort of in those summer months, but they've actually been seen year round now. And whereas harbour porpoise are particularly seen in the winter months, in fact, there. But that's been very useful. And then every year, and this we've been doing this since 2002, we've had our National Whale and Dolphin Watch Week, which we generally have at the end of July. So we've had now between 100 and 200 sites sort of watched per year in general, from Shetland to the Scillies. We've had up to 2,000, sometimes more than that, observers a year. And generally around sort of 10 cetacean species seen, anywhere between 8 and 13 during the watches. And lots of sightings, you know, and those were the figures there, but we managed to get some record numbers of sightings and numbers of individuals spotted this last year there, organised by Claudia as the sightings officer. Yeah, here are just some of the activities that took place during National Whale and Dolphin Watch. I'm sure Claudia will go into this more and maybe show some of these sites, these slides again, because these are from her report that she put together from the National Whale and Dolphin Watch there. And that just shows you the land and boat-based observation sites, locations where they were. And as you can see, more than 1,000 hours there. I wouldn't go into detail of this because I think Claudia will do so. But I just want to mention that you can see the trends from here by doing this, getting a snapshot each year at the same time of year, with lots of people out all around UK. You can pick up patterns pretty well. So this is really the great value of citizen science in this respect, because we wouldn't have got it from our dedicated surveys. You can see how the Moray Firth dolphins that have traditionally been within the Moray and Cromarty Firths have shifted down the east side of Scotland and then further on south to Northumberland, and now going further south still to Yorkshire, and even in fact most recently to East Anglia there. And you can see how patterns for particular species compare from year to year as well. So that's the results from 2021 and then 2022 for harbour porpoise, and here for bottlenose dolphin, 2021 and 2022. So it gives you a quick picture of what's going on, a rapid feedback on that, and allows you to be able to take action if necessary. If there's a conservation problem arising, if a population starts to show, disappears from some area or is decline sharply, we can actually follow up to try and understand why that's occurring. Moving on then to the work that Kirsten has been doing as the Adopt a Dolphin administrator. And so she produces, this is particularly for younger members there, she's been producing this newsletter every month called Newsflash there, and various people contribute to that. We've got around 600 young members of that. And the purpose of this is for them to take ownership, really, and guardianship of the dolphins that live in Cardigan Bay, the ones that Catherine and Claudia and Simone and others have been studying here in Cardigan Bay. So where we know the individuals and can track their movements and so on. So articles are produced for this, and we try in the Newsflash magazine to expand upon not just informing about the individual dolphins, but about several of the conservation issues that they face. And again, not just in Cardigan Bay, but around the world, in fact, and not just with cetaceans. Okay, so I'm just pausing to plug the laptop in. Okay, so yes, so continuing now, we've got battery power again. So these are some of the articles and the activities that have been taking place. Kirsten's been involved with quite a lot of outreach, particularly in the southwest of England. She's become the regional coordinator along with Representative Abby Crosby from the Cornwall Wildlife Trust there. They share that task there. They've been doing various things, their activities on marine conservation and engaging people. And there have been various social media campaigns operated and various video campaigns, some of them run by Kirsten and others by Katie, who was our outreach, communications and outreach officer based here in New Quay last summer. And we try to engage children at all levels, really, there from primary school up to school leavers there. So we aim for education and outreach to apply to people of all ages and involve them in various beach cleans and activities, rock pooling and so on and so forth. And that's some of the work that's been going on, where we've been trying to introduce information boards. We'd like to have information boards all around the UK, actually, produced to inform people about what marine mammals you can see in their region. Those are the ones for the southwest of England there. Moving closer to New Quay, to our main field office here, we've had set up in Paragon House the visitor centre and a dolphin hub there, both for children and for adults, and engaged quite a lot of people. This was sort of run by Claudia last summer, and lots of visitors come here. We had to terminate this a bit early because of problems that we've been having really with damp. It's a council-owned building, belongs to the local council, and in fact we can't occupy it at the moment because of that. They're now trying to repair it, and it turns out it needs a lot more repair than they were imagining, I think. So it's a lot of work's going on at the moment, and we're having to move into some temporary office space in the meantime till they have this sorted. We've been telling them about this problem for the last, 4 years or something, but eventually they've taken it seriously. But nevertheless, we did, over the period of time when it was open, we did get a lot of people coming in, which was really good there. And then there've been lots of activities as well undertaken along the beach there in New Quay, rock pooling activities and things like that. But of course, one of the reasons why we set up an office here in New Quay was because of the Cardigan Bay population, and to monitor this one. It's the largest coastal bottlenose dolphin population in Britain. It has 2 special areas of conservation established for it, based on data that we collected, in fact. And we do, for the Statutory Conservation Agency, Natural Resources Wales, we do the monitoring of those. And Catherine will talk about that shortly. And that's just the areas and the transect lines that we use for the monitoring there. And there's just a front cover of the report that Catherine has put together, and she'll be talking more about that. We've been doing a lot of work based where I am in North Wales, in Anglesey, and also linked to the associated with the university, with the School of Ocean Sciences. I'm working with colleagues, particularly James Waggett, a lecturer there now, and with Jenny Bond, who's going to be joining us shortly, well, as of Monday, really, formally, and doing various work on data sets, wider data sets that we collated, and also on our own surveys that we've undertaken. So we've, I think I mentioned this last year, that we were producing a Welsh cetacean and seabird atlas for Natural Resources Wales. These are just some of the results from that. And we made various sort of changes to that at their request to develop certain things a bit further. But that's just about to be published now formally. And there's a great demand for this, great interest in having these density distribution maps seasonally and monthly for different species. Here are just 2 examples, Risso's dolphin and minke whale. But those data will be used by developers, by government, by the statutory agencies, by whale watchers, by whoever has an interest there in that. So it's quite an important document that's been produced. Talking of surveys, we have done a number of surveys sort of recently in Wales. These are ones from in the Dee estuary that Catherine and Ben have been running up on the borders with England, there in northeast Wales. We've been doing that for Associated British Ports, that company there. We've had a lot of problems over boats not being seaworthy. The ones that we've been that this company has been, or the Associated British Ports have been providing for us, and that sort of interrupted our some of the surveys that we've been able to undertake. We've also for a energy company called Nova Innovation, who are interested in developing tidal energy in Bardsley Sound there up on the Llŷn Peninsula, and with help from particularly Jenny and Ben and James, we've been doing surveys both from land and also boat-based surveys, transects there. And we've just recently submitted a report on that to Nova Innovation. And also, this is a project that has been led actually by James with a strong support from Jenny, and we've been helping out with the surveys in off the west of Holyhead. This is another tidal turbine project where there's a demonstration zone. We've been running these different sets of transects, some targeting particularly seabirds and the others targeting particularly marine mammals, although we record marine mammals on both there. And that's to try and identify which are the key areas being used. So that's just histograms really showing the proportions of each of the main species of marine mammals seen over that time period from last year there. And we've continued this year with these there. And here are some maps. You perhaps won't be able to see the circles very easily, but these are of actually well, harbour porpoises seen each month there. But we're recording all species that we see of marine mammals and birds. We've had a number of master's students doing projects with us, and also one doing a first degree, a BSc thesis with us on a wide variety of topics, some of them related to Cardigan Bay and the bottlenose dolphins here, others using our data sets, either photo ID data sets or sightings and data, for example, on humpback whales, one preparing a UK-wide catalogue of humpback whales, and another one preparing a catalogue of the bottlenose dolphins in Eastern England, sorry, to match with those in the Moray Firth and East Scotland there. So I think these master's projects are really important and hopefully beneficial to all concerned. And many of the students that have had their masters there have gone on to do either PhDs or go into the fields that they want to follow in marine conservation and marine environmental science. We published a number of papers this last year. This was one that was done by a master's student with me, Alexandra there, Karola from Poland, looking at bottlenose dolphin responses to boat traffic and whether they comply or not with the code of conduct. And if they do comply, what the outcome is it good or bad? And it generally is good. It shows it's a good thing to be doing there. Another master student, ex-master students of ours, Anastasios, he looked at the long-term variation in skin conditions and deformities and injuries in our bottlenose dolphin population here. And so that was published as well there in Mammalian Biology. Another paper that was published in Endangered Species Research there that I was involved with, and we shared data and interpreted those results, really looking at the entanglements up on particularly the west coast of Scotland in the creel fishery here, that affect humpbacks and minke whales. A couple of papers working with colleagues in the Centre for Ecology and Hydrology in Edinburgh, where we were looking at the potential impact of climate change, in fact, on seabirds, and we were producing seabird distribution maps and projected maps of what the future may hold for that. One of those published in Marine Ecology Progress series, and the other in Journal of Animal Ecology, both very good journals there. It was nice to see those there. We also had a paper that was led by Catherine on bubble netting. I don't know whether she's going to show a picture of that, but I thought she probably would, so I haven't put that in. But from the bottlenose dolphins here. We do a lot of work internationally, and particularly with the European Commission, but not just with them, also with the United Nations Environmental Programme. And they have a regional agreement, legislative agreement called ASCABANS, which is for the conservation of small cetaceans of the Baltic, Northeast Atlantic, Irish and North Seas there. So these are that agreement, and then the directives like the Habitats Directive and the Marine Strategy Framework Directive, which used to apply to UK and do still via the body called OSPAR, the OSPAR Commission. These are the main legislative agreements and directives that exist in Europe that are relevant to marine mammals. So we're very much involved with these at quite a high level, really, operating with the European Commission to advise it. Last year, I talked about a workshop that a project that we were involved with the European Commission to identify the effectiveness of marine Natura 2000 sites. That's these special areas of conservation and special protection areas for birds and other forms of protection there, but under the Habitats Directive. And so we worked on that. This one was a workshop we had in 2021, but we also had another one in 2022, and we finished the project in the autumn of 2022, produced a report on that. We set up a questionnaire that management authorities all around Europe could use, not just Northern Europe, but Southern Europe as well, the Mediterranean, Black Sea there. And the Commission were very pleased with the results, I'm pleased to say, there, and are putting that into effect now. So at least all the member states will use that. Joint Nature Conservation Committee in the UK has expressed an interest in this, and so we've provided them with the questionnaire and the topics there, so they could make use of that as well. One of the major threats to cetaceans is bycatch. I mean, it's the major one, causes more mortality than any other human-related activity, so far as we are aware there. And so it's one that we've spent, or I have anyway, particularly spent a lot of time focusing upon there. So every year we have there's an advisory committee meeting of the ASCABANS sort of legislative agreement there. So parties, representatives of the different European governments attend that, and I attend that too there, and I chair various working groups within it, such as we have one with ASCABANS, which is our sister agreement down in the Mediterranean Black Sea. We have a joint bycatch working group there. So we had meetings on that, and also the North Sea group, which is directed at harbour porpoises, which I also chair. And so there were presentations at those. And just now I've come back from Spain, where we had meetings, a workshop on bycatch, in fact, and put forward various important resolutions to try to improve the situation, because it's really massive at the moment, the problem of bycatch facing not just marine mammals, but all marine life, really. So under for the harbour porpoise, there are 3 conservation plans, which Sea-Watch coordinates the North Sea one. The other 2 are in the Baltic, in the inner belt seas of Danish waters and Swedish waters, but also in the Baltic proper, there's one there. And we're involved with all of those in trying to lead conservation action those areas. There are two ICES working groups. ICES is the International Council for Exploration of the Sea, and it's a sort of scientific body which provides advice to the European Commission and advice to governments. Its main focus in the past was very much fisheries and regulation of fisheries, but it does have a marine mammal component as well. And I'm a member of the bycatch working group, and also I chair the working group on marine mammal ecology there. So, and we had meetings in over the last sort of 12 months of both those, and we're just about, that's one of the things I've got to do next week, finish off the report of the latter one there. So I just want to end up by saying that you couldn't do all this work if it wasn't for partnerships and collaborations with a whole range of bodies. And these are just some of them, in fact. I couldn't fit any more on than those, but those are the ones. Some of them are UK based, some of them are from Ireland, some of them are from other parts of Europe, and some of them are wider still than that, global ones there. I think it's really important to have that. And finally, none of this work could happen if it wasn't for the staff and volunteers that we have. These are some of the key people here that have played their parts. Catherine as monitoring officer, Claudia, who has now become communications and outreach officer, but last year served as sightings officer. Kirsten is a Dr. Dolphin administrator. Simone, who has been and hopefully will continue doing some of the database management, but has taken on the role now of sightings officer there. Katie, who was our communications and outreach officer last year, but then left to do a master's project herself up in Newcastle. Hannah, who is here, who has been our magazine editor and continues to be, I hope, otherwise we'd be in desperate strait working on that, and also who managed the whole of the Orca Watch project last year. James, as I mentioned before, who's been our really sort of robust analyst and modeler there, and Robin, who, though not present here because he's cruising the world, is our sort of Sea-Watch ambassador and oversees the membership there. And finally, last but certainly not least, Jamie, who's in the audience here, as our treasurer. And I should mention that a new person that's joining us, I'm very pleased to see that, and that's Jenny. Jenny, can wave your hand there, who has been, I think, much to the disappointment of the University of Bangor, because she was very much liked and enjoyed the help that she gave in the School of Ocean Sciences, and hopefully we still will do, who has now joined us in an exciting new project that we have, which is supported by a guy called Sir George Merrick up in Anglesey. He's a wealthy landowner there, has an estate there, and also has an estate down in the New Forest, and owns, I think, half of, is it Bournemouth or Chichester? I can't remember now. Bournemouth it is, yes. So he's fairly rich anyway, but he has he approached me to say he would like to support Sea-Watch and develop an office on Anglesey on his estate. So he's offered us 2 houses there, rent-free, just sort of cost of utilities, one for interns and one for Jenny and her family, who's going to manage the project to live in, and an office there, and a boat. He's bought a boat for us as well there, small boat, but it'll serve our purpose at least for the time being. So he's very keen to support Sea-Watch, and I want to make use of that to develop a community-based marine management project in Carnarvon Bay, in an area that at the moment doesn't have much protection, but get the community themselves to benefit from it directly. So we can monitor then hopefully the benefits of that, the environmental benefits of controlling some activities there, allowing the marine ecosystem to recover and improve, and see hopefully the consequences of that, the positive consequences of it, all through the food chain up to the marine mammals and birds there. And that's it, really. So I don't know whether there are any questions that anyone has, but feel free to ask if you do have any. Colin,
How have you got any the uptake of progress?
I don't know the numbers that are taking it. Do you know, Claudia? Yeah, yes. Any other questions? I don't know if anyone has any questions online, but I don't know whether I'll be able to see. Can you see? You can see. Okay. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask, or we can ask later on. But otherwise, I'll hand over to Catherine now, who's going to talk about the Cardigan Bay Bottomless Dolphin Monitoring Project.
All right. So, as most of you will know, my name is Catherine. I'm the monitoring officer. I've been with Sea-Watch on and off probably since 2011. So, yeah, not very hard to get rid of. I'm going to talk about the Cardigan Bay Monitoring Project and what we did in 2022. So first of all, I'm going to start off by giving a bit of a background on Cardigan Bay. So it's one of the largest bays in the UK. It measures approximately 100 kilometers from north to south, with a maximum depth of 60 meters. So overall, it's quite shallow, and it also has a very gentle slope. So there's not a lot of very sudden drops in depth. It has also supported a diverse variety of species and habitats, which are listed under Annex 2 of the EU Habitats Directive, whatever that means nowadays. There are 3 marine mammal species that are listed under Annex 2 of the EU Habitats Directive, the grey seal, the harbour porpoise, and bottlenose dolphin. And because of the presence of the bottlenose dolphin, there was a special area of conservation designated down here, the Cardigan Bay SAC, and then there is also the Northern SAC, the Penckley-Narsanai SAC, where bottlenose dolphins aren't the primary designated feature, but they are a secondary feature as well. Okay. It is stuck. Okay. So as the name would suggest, the Cardigan Bay Monitoring Project is based out of, well, Cardigan Bay. Here in Newquay, Ceredigion is our base. And we have been doing dedicated line transit surveys since 2001, mainly in the Cardigan Bay SAC at that time. But they were then expanded into the Northern SAC in 2005 with designated line transit surveys starting in around 2011, which is also when I started as research assistant. The aim of the project is monitoring abundance, distribution, and reproductive success, as well as population structure of the semi-resident population of bottlenose dolphins that we have in the area. And then with the secondary goals of also monitoring harbour porpoise and grey seal abundance. So in 2022, we had overall 23 interns from 6 countries, a National Whale and Dolphin Watch assistant, 3 EAs, that should say, because I forgot Ken, and I don't know how I did that, and 2 research assistants. And as Peter said, all the work we do here could really not be done without our interns. We actually, last year was really nice because we had returning people been with us before. So Catherine McGregor, who was an intern in 2021, came back as education assistant, and then also took over the National Whale and Dolphin Watch assistant role, which is always good to see. We also had someone come, Jessie, who came in the last period. She came from the last season as well. And we also had 3 very brave souls who were initially only here for 1 period and then extended their stay to the entire period, including Tom, who took over from our research assistant in period 4, after having meant to stay only for 1 period, and now he's back. So we take that as a good sign, really. So the way we go about data collection in Cardigan Bay is a number of ways. We have our dedicated line transit surveys, as well as dedicated photo ID surveys. So the difference between those two being with line transit surveys, we are following a set route, whereas with photo ID surveys, we usually do these when we may not have as much time, or the weather might not be quite good enough to do a full day survey. With the dedicated photo ID surveys, we'll just go and look at hotspots rather than following a full line transit survey. We do also do photo ID from opportunistic platforms, and that would be our recommended boat operators. Around here, that is dolphin spotting boat trips. You'll see them go out pretty much on an hourly basis. The E6, the Dreamcatcher, and the Dunbar Castle 2 are the boats that they run out of here. Slightly down the coast, then we also have Bay to Remember, who run 2 boats out of Poppet Sands, and then further down in Pembrokeshire, going out into the Celtic Deep, Falcon Boats, among others. Falcon Boats just got a more honorary mention because we've had people do their MSc thesis with them, and have done some work on common dolphin photo ID as well. So last year, this is the overview of the areas that we covered. So the main research vessel that we used was the Dreamcatcher, which is a new boat with dolphin spotting boat trips, which they acquired in 2021, I want to say. Yeah. Before that, some of you who've been around for a while might be familiar with Dunbar Castle 2, the big blue boat with the bench on top. We all love Dunbar, but Dunbar only goes about 6 knots with the wind in your back, which isn't ideal. So we switched more to Dreamcatcher, which can maintain 12 knots easily. So we managed to cover a large amount of area on that. Good thing about Dreamcatcher is that it's also quick enough that we can go up north and do surveys on it. We do have use of another boat that we haven't used before, which is Highlander. Highlander runs out of Patelli, and we did do some surveys from that boat last season. I believe this is also the boat that Ben and Peter do the Nova surveys from, which is really good, has a really good platform height, so we can see quite far. So that's nice. Not so nice as the 3-hour drive there, but it's good to do the outer transects from there as well. The only issue we had last year, well, there was a couple of issues in the sense that we didn't get quite as much coverage as we would have liked, because there was a lot of issues with boat availability. Unfortunately, this is a new boat and we couldn't use the old boat because the engine blew up and he couldn't replace it until August. So we're a bit behind that. And then also Aberporth, our friendly local Ministry of Defence station, decided to close the bay for most of June. So that was a little bit challenging, but we managed to work around that. Looking at opportunistic survey effort and bottlenose dolphins, this is the effort that we covered on the opportunistic platforms, as well as the sightings rates. Sightings rates on the opportunistic platforms tend to be a lot higher than on the dedicated surveys because they keep primarily to the coast and essentially hit dolphin hotspot after dolphin hotspot. Whereas when we go out on the line transit surveys, we cover a greater area. So our sightings rates tend to be a little bit lower. So the main focus of our project is the bottlenose dolphin, but we did see some other species this year, most notably last year, Bristol's dolphins and common dolphins. Common dolphins, we do see quite regularly, as in we'll usually see them once or twice, but usually we see them up in the north. And last year we had a lot of common sightings, to the extent that we had one survey where they were out doing bottlenose sightings, which is quite unusual. Risso's dolphins, again, there is certain areas where we expect to see Risso's dolphins, which would be Bardsey. But we actually saw them down in Cardigan Island, not up in Bardsey, so that was interesting. And we saw what we believe is the same group twice on 2 different surveys, so that was interesting. And we also saw sunfish, especially you haven't seen a sunfish yet. They are very big and not very elegant, so keep your eyes out for them when you see them. When you go out on the tourist boats, they will stop and show them to you. If you see something flopping at the surface, it's probably that. So these are the maps of our dedicated survey effort in Cardigan Bay. You can see that because otherwise offshore it gets pretty rough. And then we had the added difficulty of not having osprey available to us until late in the season. We can do some of the outer surveys with Dreamcatcher, but doing the all the way out ones, there is only so much fuel we can carry on the boat, so some of them are not really feasible. I'm not saying with the common dolphins, we didn't just get in the Cardigan Bay SAC, and then these two are the resource dolphins, so I think that usually we'd expect them to be up here, so that was interesting. Looking at the results from the photo ID, then overall we had 41 bottlenose dolphin sightings, which resulted in encounters. I think overall we had about 100 sightings, so about half of them we had good enough quality pictures to do photo ID. We identified a total of 27 marked dolphins and a minimum of 10 unmarked dolphins. We recorded 9 newborn calves, 6 of which were recorded in the Cardigan Bay SAC, which is pretty much what we expect based on previous years. We tend to have more calves down here than we have up north. Sightings rates down here were also approximately double of what they were up north. Again, that's something we expect to see based on previous year's results. And we added quite a lot of new animals to the catalogue, 11 animals overall. So there's that. Peter did say that we're increasing Anglesey, and based on Peter's surveys up north, we identified 13 animals from the Anglesey surveys. Most of these animals have previously been seen in the Cardigan Bay SAC or the Penklin-Asani SAC. However, one of the animals that was identified has only ever been seen in North Wales and in Liverpool since being first seen in 2013. So that's quite interesting. I believe this animal was actually in the D survey sighting as well. So this is an animal that is apparently just using that the northern part of Wales, which is quite interesting to see. So these are the animals. All right. These are then the results from our CMR capture mark recapture analysis based on a closed population model on the left for Cardigan Bay SAC for Greater Cardigan Bay. With the help of McBain's, we also did a distance analysis. The analysis for the SAC was actually fairly similar, which was nice. For the north, it was quite high and quite a way off of what we had from the mark recapture analysis, but we think that there is probably a lot of bias there because we covered primarily the inner part of the survey area where there's more sightings of bottlenose dolphins, and we didn't have as many on the outer, as much survey effort on the outer, so it's probably a little bit biased because we had more sightings in that area than we would, on average, than we would have thought if we had, if we looked at it versus the effort. So we're working on trying to compensate for that, essentially, and thinking of splitting the area into strata and doing it that way. But yeah, that's a work in progress. So Peter mentioned this. We did have a publication last year as well based on some behavioural observations made in Cardigan Bay. And actually, Peter did mention how important members of the public are and in submitting data. This video was actually brought to our attention by a member of the public who went out on a boat trip called Epic Fishing here, and they filmed an animal apparently repeatedly blowing bubbles at a fish that was apparently trying to hide behind the fender, and it looked as if it was trying to flush the fish out from behind the fender by using the bubbles. We actually did have interns on the boats that day, not on that boat because we don't usually put them on the fishing boats, but they were in the area at the time, and we think this was actually one of our adoptable dolphins, Berry, with her juvenile, and we published our observations in Aquatic Mammals, and that's the full reference there if you want to go and look it up. Hopefully the video will work. See, no, okay. Otherwise we can play it later, but it should work. It's on the drive. Okay, I'll I'll share the video after the talk. We'll do it that way. We did have a number of student projects. Peter did mention that we had some as well. The ones that were based down here, one was based on the habitat use and interaction of bottlenose dolphins and the interaction with bottlenose dolphins with boat traffic down here. That was by Chelsea Perrin. And then we also had Noor Elias, who came up with a very detailed ethogram for bottlenose dolphins in Cardigan Bay. Our behavior recording forms are quite old, so we're going to try and incorporate some of these behaviors into the more detailed form that we have. So that's good. Right. Let's look again. Okay, we don't have as much media coverage as we usually would have had. We had some interest from, I believe, CBBC and also a Country File who wanted to come film with us a number of times, but it never really worked out with the timing. We did get a feature in a magazine called Whoop Whoop Magazine, which is a new magazine featuring wildlife. We're hoping to have a copy of it today, but they've not sent it yet. Essentially, they interviewed me and asked about the work of what we do down here. We did also have an article on the melanistic common dolphin in Cambrian News. So this was one of the animals that we spotted during the surveys down here. So these were with common dolphins that we spotted off Cardigan Island, and we saw him in 2 of the sightings. So yeah, that was very interesting to see. Some of the watches and events that we did in National Land Dolphin Watch got coverage as well, but that would be Katie and Claudia's coverage, so I did not want to steal those. Peter did also mention the estuary surveys, and Ben will talk about that a little bit more. Until last year, we were also essentially running the estuary surveys up north with staff from down here and interns from down here. So the D estuary is in North Wales, near Merseyside. It's recognised as a site of special scientific interest, primarily for the bird population there. They have a lot of waders that winter there. And West Hoyle Sandbank up there is one of the most important haul-out sites for grey seals. But we also have had harbour porpoise and bottlenose dolphins observed up there, and we have been conducting monthly surveys for ABP MER to collect data on marine mammal distribution, abundance for an environmental impact assessment. Mainly we do see seals, but we have had a bottlenose dolphin sighting. What is really nice actually is that we're working with 2 former Sea-Watch interns, Nick Goldsmith, who was here in 2016, and Andriana Michaeludis, who was here in 2018. So it's always good to see, to work with former interns, so that's nice. During last year, the 2 marine mammal species that we recorded were grey seal and harbour porpoise. We did have a bottlenose dolphin sighting the previous year, but not in 2022. Most of our sightings were grey seals, which is not particularly surprising. There's a large haul-out site on Hilbert Island up there. So that's essentially what we were expecting. So then 2023, we have overall so far 27 interns from 6 countries that are planning to come here and 1 research assistant. Tom returned to Newquay, so we're very happy about that. And we also have 3 master students coming to do their thesis down here, 2 of which you've met, and 1 of which will hopefully be coming down later this month. Yeah, I think that's it from me. Yes, so that's it for me, and thank you for listening. I can try and get the video off if we have time, but otherwise I can just play it at the end. Okay, let's see if I can figure this out. I'll stop sharing for now and then bring it up. No. Now we want to share. All right. Yeah. Yeah.
No, it's
Yeah. Fortunately, we don't know if the fish survived or not. Sorry. So we'll leave it on the cliffhanger.
Hey everyone, so you probably all know who I am too. I'm Claudia. Been with Sea-Watch since 2019. Seems to be an ongoing trend with us. I was sightings officer last year, but this year I've taken over the role of communications and outreach. So I'll be talking a bit about some of the sightings we had from last year, National Whale and Dolphin Watch, and then I'll be touching a bit about my plans for this coming year. Unfortunately, Kate couldn't join us, so I have a little bit of information about our outreach from last year, but not too much in detail. Okay, it's not switching on here. It's confusing me. Yeah. So last year we had a total number of sightings 7,792 with 50,192 individuals. It's difficult to say the numbers are correct because we did have some repeat sightings between the website and the app, which we're trying to sort out at the moment. When we merge the two databases together, we'll be able to eliminate those. We can see from this that the website is still receiving more sightings than the app. Hopefully this will even out a bit more when the new app developments have come through. And again, individual numbers are also obviously going to be higher on the website than they were on the app. We had a total of 15 different cetacean species seen last year, 2 different species of pinnipeds and 3 other species. So this would include basking sharks, leatherback turtles, and sunfish. Nope. There we go. Okay. So last year, the most common species we had that were sighted around the UK were bottlenose dolphin, harbour porpoise, and common dolphin. So we had 2,270 sightings submitted of bottlenose dolphin, 2,059 sightings of harbour porpoise, and 1,182 sightings of the common dolphin. However, when it comes to individuals, as we know, common dolphins tend to travel in quite large pods. We had far more individuals of common dolphin than we did of the other species. We had a total 20,487 individuals recorded of common dolphin. It is likely that obviously these individuals are probably repeated. We had 17,229 individuals of the bottlenose dolphin and 6,176 of the harbour porpoise. I'm going to change. Okay. So our kind of exciting or rarer sightings that we had last year, we had a sperm whale off Shetland, sei whale in the Firth of Forth, Harris and Cornwall. We had northern beaked whale in Renfrewshire and Shetland, and a striped dolphin in Tor Point. The images that we see aren't actually from those sightings, these were just taken from the website. But these were just some of the rarer sightings that we had last year, which is fantastic. So national. Are you going to change? No. Look. Yeah. The whole thing just frozen now. I don't know what's going on with it. Yeah. How did we fix that last time? This window. I presented you. Yeah. Okay. So Peter, in his presentation, briefly mentioned National Whale and Dolphin Watch, which is an annual event that we host around the UK, to try and get a snapshot of what species we're seeing and how many species we are seeing during that week. It's a great way to get different people involved, to get some more volunteers involved in both doing sightings, fundraising, outreach events all around the UK. So these are some of the highlights from National Whale and Dolphin Watch last year and some of the numbers we had. So we had 1,229 hours of observation, 1,775 sightings reported, 12,052 individual animals, 12 different species, a total of 160 land watch sites, 33 different vessels going out, and a sightings rate of 0.76 animals per hour. So really great numbers last year. Unfortunately, didn't bring up a comparison, which I should have done. But yeah, really, really successful National Whale and Dolphin Watch last year. This is some of the maps that we generated for the report. So the first one being the land and boat observations, and we can see that there are some hotspots for where the boats are in particular. But overall, we had quite a good scattering of land watch observations around the UK. The second map we have are our sightings recorded during National Whale and Dolphin Watch, which, as I mentioned, was a total of 1,775 sightings. Again, we've got the hotspots up on the northwest, but again, scattered quite well around the UK with a few areas where we are lacking sightings, which we should push to get a few more sightings in this year. These were our top 3 species seen during National Whale and Dolphin Watch last year. The number 1 species being harbour porpoise, our second most common being common dolphin, and then the third most common being minke whale. So we had quite a few harbour porpoise. Again, as we can see throughout 3 different maps, there are hotspots of where the animals are seen. This doesn't necessarily mean that there were more animals in those areas, and it's likely more down to how many effort hours or effort watches we had going on in those areas themselves. So this is the total list of the animals we had, the animals we observed last year. So as we can see, again, the top species we had were the harbour porpoise, common dolphin, minke whale, bottlenose dolphin, grey seal, and Rousseau's dolphin. So those are kind of the species we expected to have more commonly. The average group sizes, again, varied quite significantly from species to species, with common dolphin having a significantly large average group size of 16.65 individuals, compared to the minke whale of 1.49 average group size. Harbour porpoise, again, quite a small average group size, and the bottlenose dolphin a bit of a median. So this again just breaks down how many of each of the different species we had, including the pinnipeds and our other species, so our sunfish, leatherback turtles, and brain's gone, basking shark, as well as a number of unknowns, is what we call them. So this is when the species of dolphin or the species of whale, species of cetacean cannot be identified by the observer. So we just put them down as unknown and still include them in our data. So these were just a few photos of some highlights from National Whale and Dolphin Watch last year. We had quite a few outreach events going on around the UK, as well as in Newquay. We had some fantastic events going on here. We had rock pool safaris. We had a pub quiz, a sunset cruise, which was sponsored by Dolphin Spotting Boat Trips, a live music night. So we had some really fantastic support from the locals here in Newquay, as well as observers and regional coordinators around the UK. We had around between 70 and 90 sponsors last year, so people donating prizes to us, which again was a significant number. We are so grateful to all of those businesses that got involved. It allowed us to run a few competitions. So we had a photography competition, both for adults and for children. So people from around the UK submitted their photos. I believe the middle one of the dolphin was one of those submissions. We had a raffle for all of the observers who got involved with submitting sightings, and we selected a few people from that list at random to win a prize. This just acts as a bit of an extra incentive to get more people involved. So going on to outreach, this is just a bit about our outreach at the moment. So starting with social media, this is just a breakdown of our current audience. We can see with Facebook, we are getting far more followers than we are on Instagram, with 17,422, versus Instagram, which was 4,045. Both on Facebook and Instagram, our main audience is female. The age difference, there is a bit of an age difference between the main audiences between the two platforms. So on Facebook, it is mostly women aged 35 to 44. And on Instagram, it's mostly women aged 25 to 34. So my target for the year in terms of social media is to improve our engagement with those aged 18 to 24. So getting younger people involved a bit more in our social media so they can learn about our events, internships, and other ways they can get involved with volunteering. So plans for social media this year. As I mentioned, I want to reach out a bit more to other audiences, expand from what we currently are reaching. Using Facebook and Instagram ads, advertise events. Obviously, this is very dependent on funding. We've had really great engagement so far this year, or this season, by receiving videos from members of the public and sharing them on our social media platforms with credit, of course. One footage, one video we received of white-beaked dolphins from Sussex has reached over 2,341 accounts. This number was created at the beginning of this week. I believe that's up to 3,000 accounts now, which is really fantastic. And it was the same sort of trend with our footage of the otter in Newquay, which is a bit different from what we normally have on our social media, but we thought something really exciting in Newquay, otter walking on the coastal path, was very bizarre. If anyone would like to see that video, I'm happy to share it. And again, we also posted a video of a humpback whale, the one that was seen from Kent, and that has also reached over 2,000 accounts. So social media is going really well so far. A few more things for 2023 is we are continuing with our intern introductions. To those of you who have not sent them to me yet, please do. And I would like to start Where Are They Now posts. As Peter has mentioned, a lot of our interns have gone on to have some really fantastic careers. So I would like to reach out to some of those interns from the past and get them involved, telling us their stories and where they've gone from Sea-Watch. A few more things. Peter and I have been working on some grants to try get some outreach funding for a number of different things. We would like to start a youth outreach initiative, so getting almost something very similar to our regional coordinator program, but involving young people. So reaching out to schools, universities, youth groups, and so on, trying to get those people involved. Just updating our visitor center or education center a bit. So a grant that I'm working on at the moment with the Steel Charitable Trust will allow us to get things like display screens and all other sorts of technology. So it's a very big grant. I think it's £15,000. So getting that will allow us to bring a lot more technology into the hub itself and getting our interns a bit more involved in hosting seminars and webinars. So a few other things that I have planned for this year is redesigning our Sea-Watch branded clothing and merchandise. So our t-shirts have been redone completely. There is a slide on the next page, or slide coming up next, showing what the new design looks like. These should hopefully arrive next week, I believe. There's also been interest in getting some Sea-Watch branded hoodies for the interns. This is just to make us look a bit more cohesive, especially when we're out on the pier or out doing events. We're getting involved with the Big Help Out, which is a nationwide event that's working alongside the King's Coronation. And they're essentially a charity trying to get people out to volunteer for charities around the UK. So they have got an app and a website where they advertise different volunteering opportunities all over or in your area. So at the moment, we are advertising National Whale and Dolphin Watch and Orca Watch on those platforms as a way to recruit more volunteers to get involved. So this links into the King's Coronation, and we have a few events in the planning stage for that bank holiday weekend. It would be great to engage with and possibly visit some more schools and universities around the UK. Obviously, we have some fantastic partnerships already, but expanding that would be really, really great. And lastly is creating a shared space for regional coordinators and recommended boat operators. So this at the moment is just a Google Drive that I'm busy developing, and it'll just be a place where we can put presentations, training, documents and whatnot for everyone to get access to, as well as a space for them, regional coordinators and our recommended boat operators, to upload photos, videos, and so on and so forth for us to access and share on our social media. So as I mentioned previously, this is the t-shirt design for this year. It's not the greatest of quality, I do apologize. And like I said in the previous slide, but there has been interest in getting branded hoodies. So hopefully we can get that rolling. And it might be worth possibly getting branded coats to be kept in the office for the interns to use when they're out and about on the pier and on the boats. And that is all for me. If there are any questions? No? Perfect.
This is loud as I can. Okay. So what we're going to do is there's one more presentation from Ben, but he's having some trouble with the PowerPoint, so he's going to do that at the end. So in between time, we're going to just go through the formal matters of the AGM. I'll get everyone to sit down and shut up. Can we? Okay.
Yeah, well, I've been.
Oh, yes. Well, there he is. Right. So I've got to stand where people can hear me. So Ben is trying to sort out this presentation is really going to be there's some technical difficulty. So at the end. We get that at the end. So we move on really to the formal part of this. And the first thing is the approval of the minutes of the last AGM. And at the last AGM, I'll just read this out really. Yeah. On the last AGM, which we held at as in the sports and social club, usually here. There's also technical business, really consistent with the internet connection. Welcome. Yes. Big names. And Mick, who's online here, Mick lives in a rather nice place overlooking Morocco on the south coast of Spain, near Tarifa. And he used to work for Sea-Watch as a database manager and do other surveys as well in Garden Bay. And that was 20 years ago. Something like 30 years ago. With his partner, and they've both been doing a lot of marine mammal observer work. They've travelled the world doing MMO work. Probably one of the most experienced MMOs in the world there, and he's been doing a lot of stuff off Africa. Gave a very good talk at the conference I've just come back from. So last year he was appointed as a new council member. We confirmed Colin in the unenviable job of being chair of the council and trustees. We didn't have any other business.
Peter, if you can hear me, we can't hear you at all because you're not speaking into the microphone.
Okay, and this can't be. Can we not move this round?
Just won't be able to take it.
Well, yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can certainly hear you like that. I think in future what you need is a microphone on a cable, that you can hold.
Yes, I mean that there is supposed to be a microphone here, but in the whole machine, but we haven't worked out how it works. But okay, just as well you missed the last bit because it was all about you.
Oh.
Anyway, because I was going through the minutes of last AGM where you were appointed a new council member, new trustee. So anyway, and then Colin was confirmed as chair, and then we didn't have any other business particularly, and then Claudia was introduced as the sightings officer, and there was a presentation, and after that Katie Baker as communications and outreach officer, and then I gave my review of a bit like today's, but for the previous year. And we had a break, and after that, Catherine reviewed the previous year on the Cardigan Bay monitoring. And I should say, actually, that last year was the first year that we had renewed funding from Natural Resources Wales. We sort of get intermittent funding from them to keep the monitoring going. And then when they don't do it, we have to pay for it to keep it on. But they managed to find enough money to pay for that monitoring last year. And then Simone reviewed the database work that we're doing, which has involved also putting some of our data onto the Joint Cetacean Database Program database that's now being hosted by ISIS, who was set up courtesy of JNCC. Robin gave an ambassadorial presentation, what he's been doing, mainly from ships that he's been going around in, but actually he wasn't doing so much ship work then because there was still the aftermath of COVID, but now he's got back into that fully. And then Hannah introduced the plans for last year's Orca Watch event, which she was organising. And we had a little short talk from Karen Hall, who is the regional officer for Nature Scotland, Nature Scot as it's called now, used to be Scottish Natural Heritage, and she's the area officer for Shetland and Orkney. as well as our regional coordinator. So she gave a short presentation. Ben gave one, as well as regional coordinator for North Wales, and the work that he's been doing. And Stuart Baines gave one as regional coordinator for Yorkshire there. So we had those 3 talks there. So the talks were mainly online, but we did have some problems, I think, with that hybrid set of presentations there. And then we wrapped up, and that was it. We didn't do anything else than that. So that was the minutes of the last meeting. And let's move on. Now we have the chairman's report. So if you're going to say a few words now from this last year. Yes.
Definitely there has been a sort of readiness for us all to understand that after the COVID years that we're actually back in business, because things got very, very difficult for everybody concerned. And when looking in on the presentations today, it's been really important to understand how far we've come in that short time. Also too, with the renewal of the NRW funding for the Bottlenose Dolphin project, that means that that secures a lot of the purpose of being here. And as far as the new development in North Wales is concerned, that's a very exciting place for us to be, and look forward to moving into that new area. Personally, I would like to see more development with the app, which I think is something that should be more widely used, particularly in the leisure marine world. And that's something that I would like to put my back behind. And ultimately, the most important thing really is how much we rely upon our staff. And in difficult times, or where we've had problems with buildings and all kind of other elements which have put spokes in our wheels, we keep going and support each other and continue to go forward. And as far as I'm concerned, I think we all owe a massive vote of thanks to all of our great staff. And we should really support them in every way we can. So from that point of view, I know that the funds have been particularly stable in the last period. And that's a great reflection for us too, because without that funding, we are literally going nowhere fast. So from the perspective of the chairman, I think this has been a very successful period coming out of a very difficult period. And I do know that there are many charities around the UK who are struggling in these times. And fortunately, we're not one of them from that point of view. But that's been because of good planning, hard work, and tremendous amount of work on Peter's behalf to make sure that the project work is going ahead. There is so much that goes on in the background that we don't even know about. We're negotiating with people like NRW to get reliable sources of funding. And also too, I'm very excited to see this current development with Sir George Merrick and the great plans that Peter and others have for it. So thanks all to you for that. And that is my report as far as I'm concerned. All right.
Did you hear that okay? Yeah, good, great. So thank you very much, Colin. And then the next thing is just confirmation of the approval of the latest annual report and accounts, which have been submitted actually, that were put to the done by our accountants. We've been through them as well as the trustee meeting, but just to let you know that those have gone through. Anyone wanting to see them, well, you can actually see them anyway on the Charity Commission website, but if you wanted a personal PDF of them, I can send it to anybody that would like that. They're rather boring, but anyway, they are. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yes. Yes, very much so. Absolutely. And so it then comes to every year all the council members, all the trustees sort of officially retire, and then we vote them on again, unless we don't want to. But but we should do that. So just formally, we go through that process. So can we, I hope all the council members are standing, the ones, as far as I know they are, for re-election. So I think I can propose that anyway. I'm in a position to. Does anyone want to second that? Yes, okay. And so they're appointed then. And then we do the same process for the chairman. So I again would like to propose Colin, and Tony's seconded that. So that was quick. We got through that. Yes. Yes. We have a great team of trustees. And for those that I think it would be worth telling people about each of the trustees. They're not all, they're certainly not all here. Some of them are online and some of them haven't been able to make it because of commitments, but I'll just go through each of them in turn there. So Colin, as you know, is the chair and as he said, has been involved with Sea-Watch for many years, done a lot of work on basking sharks and pioneering work there, and is based up in West Scotland now and near Arisaig there, by Arisaig, and has done a lot of sailing everywhere around different parts of the world there, but has his roots now back there. It used to be in Cornwall. Yeah. So there's Colin. Tony, whom you can see at the back there, who is a lawyer there, and started off some of his interests as an assistant warden on Skomer Island, working with a good friend of mine, Tim Burkhead. Yes, a long time ago. I saw Tim not long ago, and I was mentioning this to him. Yeah, and so has been a stalwart member and been chair in the past, maybe twice, 3 times. I can't remember what. Yeah, enough times. Yes. So we have a nice mix of people. Jamie, as you know, is our treasurer and is treasurer of various charities and organisations there. Also another keen yachtsman there, same as Colin, and has a strong interest in environmental conservation and protection. And Hannah here, who has an enormous sort of amount of energy that she's put into doing lots of things for Sea-Watch, and how we managed without her before, both in terms of editing the newsletter, but also lots of other different ways helped. She and both of them helped with producing some of those information boards as well. And in addition to that, has been, well, they've been producing maps for us. They've been working on chasing up contributions to the newsletters and magazines, digital magazine, running Orca Watch, participating in that, collecting data and so on, in many different ways, helping out in the visitor centre as well, getting that in order. So many different ways there. And then online at the moment, we have, well, Mick I told you about, but Jim as well, Jim Baran. He used to be working with Sea-Watch many years ago, when we were based in Oxford, and then went and took up a post at Manchester University there, overseeing postgraduates and their development. And since then has retired from that now and has come back to Sea-Watch. And he started his sort of academic career working very much on killer whales in the Pacific Northwest of North America, and then did his PhD on short-fin pilot whales in the Canaries, and has worked on a whole range of cetacean species. And he's just come back, just like me, from this conference in Spain there. We have Graham Pearce. He's a professor. He used to be a professor at Aberdeen University, but he's now moved to Vigo in Spain. And he had a very intensive session organizing and giving talks at this last conference. As I said, lives in Vigo, so he wasn't able to join us directly. And then another person who is based in UK is John Turner. He's the head of the School of Ocean Sciences in Bangor University. Some of you may know him. And John wasn't able to join us, unfortunately, because it coincided with the Open Day, University Open Day, which he had to lead on, so he couldn't get away at all for that. So he hasn't even been able to join us online, unfortunately. But he sends his best wishes there. So inevitably, a lot of the trustees have very busy lives and quite responsible positions there. So they haven't, some of them are here in spirit rather than in physical presence. We also have Kelly Marie Beverton, who's from the Plymouth Marine Laboratory and is their sort of communications officer there. And she wasn't able to join. She's not been well recently, but sends her best wishes to. And then Craig Turner, who is our sort of web advisor. He's an IT guy and has been very much involved with, he redesigned our dolphin adoption scheme website, but he's been so he's just had a young family, so he wasn't able to bring them or come with them there. But he's been very instrumental in developing our website. And that's another exciting new thing. We're now hoping to launch a new or an updated website, one that will be easier to navigate, more modern, more dynamic website than the one we've had for some years now. So, and easier to use apparently, but it's not quite ready yet, but that's being developed and will be launched soon. And then there's George, who is actually on a boat, a ship at the moment. He's been doing a lot of sort of observations there from that and helping out on one of these sort of cruise ship boats. Or is it a ferry actually? This is a cruise ship, yeah, that's right. So unfortunately, it coincided with this meeting. So I rather envy him though anyway, out in a rather nice part of the world. So he's not been able to join us either there. But he's sort of health and safety officer, really. That's sort of what his skills are. But he's a very keen observer as well of marine mammals. So we have a wide range of people from different backgrounds and different skills that come to bear on it. Some academics, some people with things like being treasurers or being solicitors and so on, bring to it. So it's a nice mix there. So those are those. Do you want to, Ben, see if you have you? Okay. Yes.
Another option is if you join the Zoom and share your screen. Can't you Zoom?
No,
Oh, the presentation.
Presentation.
Yeah.
But it's all ready to go.
Yeah. Do it at some point next week, or you can pre-record it if you prefer, and you can share it.
What you could do, Ben, though, is just perhaps come up here so that they can hear and just say a few words. They would be able to hear you then. So I'm just going to hand you over to Ben, who will just make some verbal announcements about what he's been doing.
Yeah.
Dave, just to yeah, update you. So name's Ben Mercott. I'm regional coordinator for North Wales. Been doing that for some time now, and I've kind of took on a bit of a research officer role as well. So I joined Pete on a lot of the boat surveys we do up around Anglesey, Bardsey Sound, and then I've been taking over some of the ones in the D estuary as well. Aside from that, I kind of take a lot of volunteers out around Anglesey mainly, other areas around North Wales. Do a lot of boat surveys. So self-funded surveys is a scheme we set up a few years ago where a lot of our volunteers will kind of chip in for boat fuel, and we'll head out and do photo ID surveys if we're lucky enough, or if not, just kind of go to hotspots and record sightings that way. I want to say really, because I had a lot of information in the PowerPoint and a lot of updates from what we've had over this past kind of 12 months. In our region around Anglesey, rhesus dolphins is a really fantastic species that we're lucky enough to observe from lots of vantage points around the island. So we've even done photo ID from the land watch sites as well. But I've got quite a large summary of animals that we've got coming around, particularly around Point Linus, kind of areas around the north of Anglesey as well. Bottlenose dolphins, we've been recording them quite frequently as well. So again, we're kind of trying to highlight areas where we know the animals are appearing, so we can maybe intercept to do some photo ID. So I know you mentioned the northern part of the transects of Cardigan Bay. So we've had some really nice surveys up around Bardsey Sound. But I'm really interested in areas around that Dud now and down towards Rill, where we haven't got much data at all. So again, this is an area I'm trying to get new volunteers and observations out on the areas around there. But yeah, just a general introduction. So as I say, I'll put either a pre-recorded talk or I'll give one myself online. If anyone wants to log in, please do, and I'll go through everything in detail. Yeah, any would you like to cover? Yeah, okay. Again.
Yeah, you've been hearing quite a lot about what's going on sort of in Wales. Of course, we're a UK-wide charity. I particularly am pleased to see Chris and Sharon here from North Devon, who've been stalwart regional coordinators for North Devon, with porpoise recording in particular. But in a wonderful area, really. Been privileged to go there and see it there and kept that going. And that's really, really nice to have. So thanks very much for joining us here. And then there are others that, well, some of them were at the European Society Society conference. We have, for example, on the west coast of Scotland, the director of Hebridean Whale and Dolphin Trust is our regional coordinator, Alison, and she was unable to join us here because she was taking a few days off after the conference for a bit of a holiday before coming back from Spain. So she's sort of deep in Galicia at the moment. And then we have people who are also sort of work for some of the wildlife trusts who are either sort of regional coordinators, such as well, Abby Crosby from the Cornwall Wildlife Trust for Cornwall. We've got ones over in Kent as well. We've got the same for parts of the east coast of England there, such as what's the name? It's gone out of my head now. Sorry. Who's the Yorkshire Wildlife Trust? Bex, yes, Bex, yes. Yes, Bex Lynham, yeah. Along with Stuart Baines. And Stuart Baines, we put forward Stuart Baines's name in some context there for having done a huge amount of watches there from Scarborough there for a sort of local award for all that effort he's put in there. So hopefully he'll win that and get that. And that was supported also by the Wildlife Trust, who found him invaluable at training them up as well. there. So we have people scattered all around the UK, and we want to continue actually to sort of develop some of those links and support those regional groups more and more. And that's something that Simone will be taking forward once she's finished her distracted by having a baby. But what's that? Yeah, we should be able to do that. So I think, is there any other business that we have that anyone can think of that they, or any questions online people might want to raise? Maybe not. Don't know if anyone has any questions. If they
No,
want
I
to
mean-
say anything
Yeah,
online.
Yeah, I'd quite like to just say how impressed I am with the developments that are emerging now in this sort of post-COVID era, you know, and particularly with the proposed additions to the way data can be displayed through the app and that sort of thing, you know, which looks really impressive to me, and will sort of raise the whole level, I think, of the value of Sea-Watch, you know, to make these data accessible, because for all these years we've been collecting data, and I know that an awful, you know, it's been put to a lot of good use, but making it accessible in this sort of way, I think will be a tremendous boon to all sorts of people, you know, students and members of the general public, people just with a general interest in what's going on. I think that's really, really great to see coming along. All round, you know, it feels as though the Sea-Watch Foundation is kind of maturing into a really valuable institution.
Thanks very much, Mick. Yes, I mean, we've tended to be a bit unusual amongst NGOs, I suppose, in that we've our main sort of communications and associations have been with government agencies like Natural England or Nature Scot, as it's called now, or Natural Resources Wales, or JNCC, Joint Nature Conservation Committee, or DEFRA, and with the international ones. And I think our link with other than the stalwart, really sort of keen observers, we haven't really reached the general public particularly. We've had various media things that we've done with, you know, BBC Countryfile or Spring Watch, Autumn Watch, and so on, but not really. I think we've had a relatively low profile there. So all the other NGOs that have an interest in the environment know us well, and we support them by giving advice and information on cetaceans and their status and distribution and trends and things around UK. But that public profile has been missing somewhat, I think. And I think that hopefully the Sea-Watch app will help to reach out to those so that anybody will be able to see that. But we'll have to really publicize that, I think, and get more people aware of the app. I mean, the app's free, and you know, as it becomes better known and easier, and as I think it should be anyway, easy to use and easy to get something out of, then I think that will help a lot there. So it's funny that I find that in the circles that I often move in, where Sea-Watch is very well known internationally, in some ways better known internationally than it is sort of regionally within bits of UK, which it is a bit strange, and it shouldn't be like that. I hope that will change there and expand. And I think also having this community-based project, which I hope will be seen as a sort of example, a model of what can be done in other parts of UK in terms of local community-led management. So management from the bottom up, rather from local people, rather than from government bodies for protection of the marine environment and long-term conservation. If that's successful, and I know Jenny's very committed to that, that will take us to a further level as well. Now, everyone refers to Lamlash Bay on the Isle of Arran, which has a similar project, but quite a small one. It's in just quite a small area of Arran in Lamlash Bay, and it's only really concentrating on the seabed and the invertebrates and fish associated with it. It's not looking at the whole food chain, and everyone sees that as a wonderful model. You know, I hear about it wherever I go. People refer to it there, and maybe they'll do the same for this project we're starting in Carnarvon Bay, and maybe we can then get similar ones in other parts of Britain, because there's very little in the way of community-led conservation projects, really. So yeah, I hope that goes. Yes, no pressure. Yeah, that's right.
Peter,
And-
can I say one thing if you finished? Carry on.
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, nice to see the new interns coming in, and I guess I'm willing to continue on as HR trustee if, in the sense that I was just trying to offer some professional development meetings. I was very interested at the conference. There are a lot of people out there looking for jobs in whale and dolphin biology, and yeah, there's just some stuff that I used to do at the university. So I'll be sending something out. Katrin shared the email addresses with me, so I'll send something out early next, Monday or Tuesday or something. So offering some meetings to just talk about maybe future careers and how best to use your time and things, but it's completely optional. But just to say that'll be coming this week. So thanks.
That's great, Jim. Yes, so, and that applies to not just interns, but yeah, master students and so on, because Jim, that's what his profession was in terms of
With all staffs. Yeah.
career development there and personal development. So that's something I hope we will introduce. And it's interesting that increasingly, I mean, we were talking about this at the European Cetacean Society conference, the need really to understand better, particularly young people's issues that they have, the difficulties in these times, both in terms of their own well-being and overcoming depression and other sort of challenges, but looking to how they can develop their careers and so on. There's so much pressure on people now. So I think, someone like Jim can play a big role in helping there. So please take that up. I think that would be really good. And I'd like to thank, I just noticed that we have Bertram Bray, who's the regional coordinator in the Channel Islands in Jersey, and May Redfern as well. So it's really good to have those here. And don't know if they want to say anything, but whether they do or not, we'd like to thank you for all your support and efforts in those parts of Britain. So if we don't have anything else, maybe Jenny? Yes. Yes. I think it still needs developing. This is, sorry, in case you didn't hear that from where you are, this is developing or promoting the app and reaching out to more people. I think we're going to have to have some meetings really about it to develop a plan there. We've got, I didn't mention this, but we've got harnessed the experience and energy of Wendy Necker and her colleague, who are very much involved with communications and media, both social media and particularly press and TV and radio. They used to promote our National Whale and Dolphin Watch some years back when we had some funding specifically for that, and we've got them for this summer at least anyway to help promote them. They want to be in touch with all of you, in fact, so that they can push stories. and they know full well that the Sea Watcher app is something that we want to have at the forefront to promote that. So, so I think what we'll do probably is organise a Zoom meeting or something like that that brings those people together, and we'll brainstorm and try and have some cohesive program going forward. I know that Wendy and Juliet would like to, Julie would like to have stories of interesting things, interesting sightings and so on that they can use. You know, they need that sort of material really to be able to then push it through the media of one form or another that way for us. So we must keep in touch with them and be proactive on that. And they have the skills and the contacts to be able to take those further forward. And I think if we just keep doing that, we will maybe get more people. It'll take a bit of time, but I think the proof of in the pudding really is whether people find the app useful and enjoyable, get something from it. Lots of different bodies are producing apps and have done. In fact, COVID, I think, helped them to do so. That period when they didn't have direct contact with people and they had to develop internet-based things. So several NGOs have produced apps now, and some of them do something rather similar to each other. And
Yeah. The app is it helps us gather data which we can't find all day. The second factor is that the app has the ability to penetrate an audience out there, which currently, as you've already alluded to, Sea Watch may not be doing as well as it might. So if we're less well known regionally, I think the app might be the very thing that can make that change, because I think it's talking to an audience of just the folk of the era. So it's a very good strategic thing.
yes, and I think that, I mean, one of the handicaps, I would say, perhaps that Sea Watch has had is that it's been viewed as quite scientific, which I think is an asset. I wouldn't like to lose that, but it does mean that some people, some general members of the public who have a mild interest, are more inclined to do something with the Wildlife Trust, which have a long historical heritage there for engagement, for citizen engagement. I had to give a talk recently, a Natural England workshop held down in Plymouth, and they asked me to talk about the use of citizen science for marine mammal monitoring. So at least they recognised that we were the ones to be doing that. We didn't ask any Wildlife Trust or any others. But that is the issue, really. It's okay having that request from Natural England, but I want it from the public. And we don't get that so much. And there is a bit of a conflict in a way, in that the public, it's easy to just report a sighting and they don't necessarily worry about whether they've got the species right or anything, but they've just seen it. And the information particularly that comes through the social media often is rather difficult to work with for us as scientists, because the group size is wrong or it's not given at all. There's a lot of important information missing. They often get the species wrong. And we want to try and bring them round and get them more engaged. And of course, doing watches, collecting effort-related data, if there aren't many animals to be seen there, can be laborious, because you can watch and watch and watch and see nothing. There was a young girl, I often tell this story, you know this, yes. There was a young girl in Sussex who at the age of 12, I think it was, joined Sea Watch and did watches there. And she did watches from the age of 12 up to the age of 20, I think it was. And she never saw a cetacean. She did look. and she watched religiously from the site. I gave her a little prize at the end of that. And she then went to university there. So she moved from Sussex there. But it's very hard in some areas of Britain as well to get many sites. We're privileged out here, and privileged in places like that, the west of Scotland, the Hebrides and Northern Isles. But there are several parts of Britain where it becomes a bit tougher to get sightings there. And that's another thing, that a challenge we need to overcome. But usually, and I mean, social media helps here, I think, because when people hear quickly that something's been seen, they can go off and see it. And this has made a tremendous difference up in the Northern Isles with orcas, the killer whales, because killer whales move around a lot. Everyone wants to see a killer whale. And usually by the time they've had the report, the killer whales are 50 miles away. So it's hard, but now they're getting to be able to, through WhatsApp and through Facebook or whatever, being able to get out and see those, and that's reinforced their interest. And we find that with these social media groups as well that have sprung up all around Britain, but we have them in Wales quite a lot. But they have brought interest. I remember when I first set up a sighting scheme in UK, and people said, look, this isn't going to go anywhere. It's going to be, you're not going to see anything. And if you do anyway, you won't know what they are. Even, senior people said this, very experienced people, zoologists, the director of the Natural History Museum, fortunately, actually, who also had overseen the stranding scheme for many years, Francis Fraser, he, at the time, said, no, go for it. And so that was really good. But other people were quite skeptical that it would ever work. And now, loads of people are seeing animals and prepared to report it. And the more we can train them up and help them identify what they've seen, give them feedback. Feedback is really what we need to do, as much feedback as possible. I know we've got a long way to go to achieve what I think is satisfactory in that respect, but we must do so. Not 30 years, but we do. We have a strategy that which we need to revisit again. It's and we've achieved about half of the things on it. I'll show it to you at some point. But yes, we do, and we review it at intervals. But we will also need to revisit it and do the next 5 years. Things have changed a lot in the last year or two, in many ways. So I think, and of course, COVID set us back somewhat in some respects. But actually, I think we've come out of it, emerged from that better than certainly most other organisations I know there. So I think that's it, unless there's any comments from anybody else. Well, thank you very much for joining us, and we've enjoyed having you, and hopefully those here will come for dinner as well. I don't know how many can make it, but we'll meet for dinner. So thank you very much, and I'd like to give a round of applause to all the people that have been mentioned here that have helped, in fact, the whole room, I should think. Thanks very much. And thank you, all of you who joined online, and we'll be in touch. Two of you,
Yes.
I hope we'll see tomorrow morning.
Bright and early, yes.
Yeah, bright and early. Not that early for you. Yes. Okay.